Mr. Attorney General, good to see you. Good to have you here for a little bit. Tell me why you put the NFL on notice with your letter relative to the Rooney Rule.
Well, here in Florida, it's been important for us to, promote rule of law and the Constitution, and in various contexts, we've brought legal fights to end discriminatory racial treatment in the context of hiring and employment. Under the Constitution, our Supreme Court has held that you cannot hire people or advance people based on the color of their skin. So we've brought numerous civil enforcements here in Florida, and the latest thing we've highlighted is the Rooney Rule. It's been a long-standing requirement in the NFL that teams have to interview a number of minorities before hiring a non-minority. And they actually do have to hire minorities in other senior staffing positions. That's a racial quota. And then perhaps the most egregious is there are situations where third-round draft picks can be given out to teams where you can show that you've hired a minority and advanced them up into your organization. This is prioritizing race, not merit. It's wrong and it's illegal.
It breaks, as far as Florida is concerned, in your opinion, the Civil Rights Act of Florida. Is that correct?
That's right. We've been against DEI here in Florida for a long time. You have a lot of states now going out trying to pass new laws to prohibit DEI and benefits that do prioritize people. It's not true diversity, it's racial preference. But our civil rights laws that have been on the books for decades in many states still apply. And I don't believe that Martin Luther King, would today dream of a situation where companies like the NFL are preferring people based on race. I mean, what do you say to a black coach who's outstanding and gets an interview but never really knows, did I get that interview because I'm good at my job or because they had to check a box? We've got some great, black coaches in the league, but I believe they're there because of merit, not because of the color of their skin.
Your timing was impeccable. You wrote the letter and had it sent to the NFL on the eve, basically, of their annual meeting. And as we've discussed, it was the talk of the annual meeting. What has been the response to you from the NFL based off of that letter?
Well, I've seen some of the public statements by, at least one of the owners as well as the commissioner. It does seem like some in the large organization may want to move on and view this as an antiquated rule that's not necessary. But I can only go by what I've seen publicly reported. We've asked them to get back to us by May 1 with their response. I hope that they will move on and abandon this rule. I do believe it violates Florida law. We'd like to, move forward amicably, but if they don't, then we will pursue civil action in Florida State Court.
So Commissioner Goodell, at the end of the owners' meetings, he had a press conference, and he was asked about, your letter. And his initial response, when asked if changes are coming, he said, one thing that doesn't change is our values. And I'm wondering, was that a shot at the Florida's law, at you? What do you?
I don't think this is about values. I think it's about the law. We are not a racist people. I do not believe the NFL is a racist organization. When you look at the composition of the players and the contracts altogether with staff, you have a majority minority organization. So this notion that they need to, kneel down and apologize is wrong. They need to follow the law. Fans at home, they don't care what color their favorite quarterback is. They care about the color of the jersey, the team. They want to see their team do well, and they hope that coaches are hired because they're good at what they do.
The league seems to be stuck on the idea, and maybe stuck isn't the right term, but they're highlighting the idea that it's not a hiring practice rule, that it's a interview practice rule. Is that still illegal in Florida?
I do believe it's illegal, but you notice they focused on the interview angle. They didn't even address the other two parts of the rule that do explicitly have racial hiring quotas for some of the other positions. They didn't address, the awards of draft picks if you check some of these, DEI boxes. I do believe the rule violates Florida law, and, we hope not to have to file a suit, but we're willing to do it if it comes to that.
So the commissioner said that the Rooney Rule is used by other industries in the United States. Do other industries in Florida use the Rooney Rule?
Well, I'm not sure if it's exactly the Rooney Rule. We are still weeding out some corporations that do have racial, discriminatory hiring practices. We recently brought legal action against Starbucks, and we've had some conversations with them. I'll tell you, when we've sent letters and brought actions, my door, we all have a line of 12 people out the door, other companies coming in to show me every correction they made to get back to merit-based, neutral hiring, to get away from giving people a handout or preference based on the color of their skin. So I think we're, making up good ground towards restoring the Constitution and rule of law and true, equal treatment under the law. But we've got a ways to go. And when you have large organizations like the NFL that still celebrate something that we believe is unconstitutional, we have a duty to fight back.
And just to be clear, have you received a response, an official response from the NFL to your letter?
Not an official response, no, sir.
Okay. Unofficial response?
We'll give them until May 1, and then we'll decide next steps.
Okay. Do you see any irony in the fact that Art Rooney II, who is the namesake of the Rooney Rule, his coach retired, Mike Tomlin, is black, and he went and hired a white coach, Mike McCarthy. He used the Rooney Rule, but he did what he felt was right and hired, I guess, what he felt was the better candidate who happened to be white.
Yeah, I assume he thought he was hiring the best candidate to lead that team and ideally win championships, get to the playoffs, win games. That's what fans want. That's what people want. We don't need discriminatory treatment in hiring and employment.
Having said that, he said, I don't anticipate any dramatic changes to the Rooney Rule at the end of the meeting. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, I won't get out ahead of it. I've seen the initial reactions, and if they want to double down on practices that violate Florida law, then we won't have a choice but to bring legal action.
He said everybody is in favor of the Rooney Rule. There is no discussion about getting rid of it. Does that send a message to you that you've got a legal battle on your hands coming up?
Seems that way. There's still some meetings and time ahead. I assume they're talking to counsel about their legal exposure, and if they've got lawyers that are reading the law the way we are, I'm sure somebody's telling them it might be wise to apply this differently in Florida or possibly, carve out some aspects of the rule. But if they choose not to, again, we believe under Florida's civil rights laws that their employment practice is illegal and we will bring civil action.
Your letter applies only to Florida and the 3 teams that are here. You sent a copy of that letter to the 3 ownership groups. Have they said anything to you, replied in any way?
Nothing publicly I can share at this time. We do have teams here in Florida. I can't reach out and change practice beyond the boundaries of our jurisdiction here in the state. Though I do think it would be a bit odd to have this rule applying to some states and not others, and that in and of itself is going to create unequal advantages when it comes to competition potentially. So again, I don't want to jump the gun. I'll wait for the formal response if we get one come May, and then we'll go from there. Let
me jump the gun. May 1 comes and nothing happened. What happens?
We will likely in short order. I'm always willing to have conversations. We'll hear arguments. If they, can make the case that this doesn't violate Florida law, I'll certainly listen to it. But we feel pretty confident that it does violate the law, and we will likely soon thereafter file a complaint in Florida State Court.
They haven't done that yet, right? They haven't reached out to you in any fashion?
They haven't done so in a formal way, no.
Is that surprising?
It is a little surprising, but I know, they had the initial meeting and are probably still having some of their own internal discussions. It's why we gave them, several weeks to come together and formally respond. I know there's many teams and many owners with different points of view. So we didn't want to make it a 24-hour clock. We gave them plenty of time and hope they'll get back to us, with a sufficient answer.
And this will be a lawyer-to-lawyer situation. I don't imagine that the commissioner of the NFL is going to actually be involved in this. Is that fair to?
It's a little too early to tell, but I'm sure lawyers will be involved. Yes.
Unless you're deposing him or something of that nature. At the end of the day, what do you want the outcome of all of this to be so that NFL fans in Florida understand, what is the end game?
The end game for me would be to have the rule repealed. And this goes beyond the NFL. I mean, is this impacting a huge, number of workforce in Florida? It's not, but it's the bigger picture that when the NFL is carrying on this very public, racially discriminatory employment practice, it sends a message to everybody in the country, other employers and employees, that this is okay. And it's not. It's unconstitutional. We'd like to see it repealed and send a message to other corporations out there that people need to be hired based on merit. And look, if there's a situation flagged for me in my office where different minorities are not having opportunities or losing jobs because of the color of their skin, I'm going to fight that fight stronger than anybody. That is wrong too. This is not about black, white, other colors. This is about merit-based hiring and advancement, which is what our Constitution, the laws of Florida require.
You believe the time for the Rooney Rule to exist should come to an end?
I think it's come to an end. I know there have been some other policies and practices where NFL owners would welcome other candidates to come in for meetings, but they would only do it for minority candidates and not white candidates. I know that's already started to get rolled back. So I do think we see progress. We do see a shift in corporate America. We've seen a huge shift to get away from ESG and DEI and things that aren't focused on doing business, that are not focused on profit, but are instead focused on a socialist agenda that people aren't paying for, that shareholders aren't approving. When people buy stock in a company, they want to see returns. They don't want to see social Marxist ideology pushed out of the corporate window.
It's weird. The NFL is a meritocracy on its face. They don't say, well, your cornerback needs to be...
You need to have 2 white linemen or your X many black quarterbacks. No, people are rewarded handsomely for great performance, for exerting themselves and winning. We want wins based on merit in this country.
Is there anything that I have failed to ask you that you'd like to say?
I don't think so. Guys, anything I failed to say?
I must have done a really good job, huh?
You're pretty thorough. You are indeed. Thank you.